Hello, and welcome back to part 10. This is the 10th stream we've done in 6 days. So today, it's lunchtime, so today we'll be having a look at how we can create the category pages. So over the next sort of 30 minutes, we are going to create the category page in the same way that we created the thread page. So at the moment, we have the index page, which contains all of our threads, and those threads are ordered by the created at date for all of the posts within a thread. So a thread can obviously have many responses, and we hooked up this form yesterday to actually be submitted to Hasura, and that all updates, and the page will be statically regenerated by Next.js automatically. There was one thing last night that I forgot to cover. So when I ended the stream, it was late, and I've gone ahead and added a fallback, and I'll quickly show you what that is doing. So essentially, what we can get from the router is to check whether or not the page is a fallback. So that means that when we use the static paths method, and originally we set this to false, which would mean the page would 404 if that page hadn't been created or generated, a build. So with turning this to true, what it'll do is it will go ahead and it'll act as if though, this page will be there, and it'll run the get static props for this page, and then it'll kind of build the page on the fly. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of time it takes in order for that to occur. If you didn't want to handle that, then you could use get server-side props, and you could just handle all of this server-side, but you lose some of the benefits of having the static builds doing that. So I've opted to use a fallback, setting that to true, and then all I really had to do next was inside of the thread page component, we have destructured is fallback from query, and simply saying, if it's not a fallback and there's no data, then it kind of is a 404. That the thread may not have been found in the database, and yes, it should act as a 404. Now, I believe Next.js are working on a way to better surface these 404s. I'm not sure if that already exists. I haven't looked into it too much, but in the instance where it isn't a fallback and the data really isn't there, we need a way to kind of render a 404, and you could render the error component, but I think, I'm not sure if I read somewhere that they're hooking it into one of the life cycles to make that a lot easier. I guess we'll find out as we kind of explore more of this project. And then there's one other thing which I kind of forgot to do. And just before we move on actually with fallback, lastly, if the data is there, but it is a fallback, if it's not a fallback, or it is a fallback, but regardless of data, we are returning just loading thread, and it's very unlikely you'll see this with the amount of data that we've got going on at the moment, and then it just kind of renders the component as normal. But the one thing I noticed last night when I was kind of replying here is obviously we reply and it still keeps the value in the input, and that's fine. Because we're not doing anything, we're just kind of taking the values and passing those on. We're not doing any kind of form reset. And because the form never unmounts, that data will persist for the form. And kind of you can tap into the React, the React hook form hook, and you can basically specify to kind of keep values or remove values when that input is added and removed from the screen, and by default it will remove the values, but we are never removing this from the DOM, so it's not going to kind of clean itself up. What we have to do is we manually have to reset the form if it's staying on page. At least I think that's the way we should go about it, but there's a simple way. If we have a look at, I'll just kind of show you what's going on first of all. Inside of post form, we are calling on submit when the form submits. So that is the first argument. We'll get all values, and then the second we are going to get the event. So what we can simply do is destructure target from the event, and then after everything's finished mutating, we will do target.reset, and we'll call that function. And then now when we press reset, there we go. It's added some text and it's reset the form. So that's just a little cleanup from last night. As I was thinking this morning, what could we do to make that experience better? I think that is making it a little bit better. So hopefully that is helpful for anyone that's maybe following along or looking at React Hook form and wondering why the data hasn't cleaned itself up. So today, in the next sort of 30 minutes or so, we are going to create the category page, and we're going to follow the same structures we did for the ID of, well, the pages. So we'll create a file called id.js, and this follows Next.js conventions. This will be this ID will be the ID of the category, and when we go back to the home page, at the moment we've just we've got no styling going on or anything, but we can see here that Jamie Barton replied in general. Now we made this a link in the previous video, or I think it was one of video 3 or 4 when we created the index component. We create the component for thread, and inside that thread we link to a category page, and it goes here and then it goes here. Now we've just created that file, so that's why we are getting that error. Until then we were getting a 404. So why don't we just do what we've done here inside of the thread for getting I don't know, for getting all the data that we need. So let's import these two, and we'll import layout, and we're going to import thread list because we want to show threads in a category, not anything else. And then we'll import GQL and Hasura user client from the Hasura user client function. Then we need to get the categories as well. So just like we did with threads, we need to go ahead and get the category IDs this time. So we'll do categories. And this is just to create the pages. And then we'll do the same for get category by ID. Is get category by ID. And instead of threads, this will be categories. And we pass in that UUID. Now then, I don't actually have Hasura open, so let's dive in and have a look. I can't remember exactly the models we used. I think it was just category name, but we'll find out. So let's have a look at our database. And we'll have a look at categories on the left, and we'll have a look at the modify tab, and we've got ID and name. So those are what we are going to query. And we also have some relationships as well. We have threads on there as well, which is good. So we'll change title to name for the category. And we'll just do this for now. Just so we can get the name printed to the page, and then we'll go ahead and query all of the threads per category as well. We don't really need to order anything on here. We don't need to insert anything, so we don't need to copy that. However, we'll just copy this get static paths, and we'll call get category IDs, and that will return categories. And just like before, we'll map over each of those categories and return the data that Next.js needs. Now fallback, I'm actually going to set this back to false. It's not likely that, well, we don't have an admin panel on the client right now, so most of the administration of this forum is going to happen inside Hasura for now, in terms of creating new categories. So if somebody, if down the line we want to enable the ability for people to create categories that are, moderators or admins or whatever, we may switch this to true, and then that can be regenerated on the fly. But I'm happy for now just to kind of take that overhead and be like, well, whenever there's a new category added, I need to redeploy the site to statically create that page. Now, it's not too much of a burden to do what we've done already by checking if it is a fallback. But let's just keep things simple for now, and let's not try and overcomplicate what the process is. So then we need to change this category, this query here, to be get category by ID, and then we pass in the ID that's coming from the parameters in the URL, and that is this here. Okay, cool. So we're making good progress on this. Revalidate. We could probably bump the number here because, again, it's unlikely the data is going to change all that often. And maybe we could just remove this at all. And let's just bump this up. Say 30. The cache is valid for 30. I don't know. Do we need this? We probably don't. Let's roll without it for now and live on the wild side. Then we're going to have a component that will be, let's just type this out now. This will be export default function category page, and this will take down initial data through the props. Then we'll instantiate Hasura once again. We'll call that function, and we've now got access to Hasura with our user bearer token inside of there. And then we'll go ahead and get query from use router, and we're importing use router. Yep. And next we'll destructure ID from, what is it? Query. Then we'll go ahead and we will copy what we've got here. Yep. And this time this will be get category by ID. This will be the key for the data in that little cache. Revalidate on mount. Yes, we want it to revalidate on mount because if we're inside a thread and we post, when we go back to the category index, if it's the latest post, we want that to be reflected, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a sec, so we're both clear. What's going on. And then lastly, what we need to do is just return this layout component, and then for the title, instead of threads by primary key, this will be categories, and because we call this name instead of title. And then lastly, we need to display the thread list. So let's just comment this out, and we can also get rid of that form as well. So we'll save that page, and we'll go here, and we will refresh. And then there we go. We've got the general as the title. And we can come back here, and we post it in JavaScript. So if we click on JavaScript, you'll see we get the category title, or name rather, here. So next what we need to do is I want to show this here on the category page. So let's open up index.js and see how we can do that. So we've got our thread list component, and then we've got all of our threads. So we're going to have to do the same here for the ID page, but this time we'll probably not show the category because we're inside of the category. So let's have a look how we can do this. So we'll probably make this same query, if I'm honest. Yeah, and we'll move up to, we'll move here, and we'll just check that is looking good. Posts limit order by created at descending, that looks good. Now order by posts aggregate, that is fine. We're going to order by the post once again. But what we'll probably do is let's add pinned in here as well. So pinned is descending, so those will be at the top, followed by any posts by the created at date. So no matter what the post activity is, the pinned threads will always be at the top. That's generally how the pinned feature is meant to work with our imaginary, well, It's not imaginary anymore. We're actually making it. But this is what we're doing with our project. We will be we'll be placing pinned threads at the top of the page. We don't need this category, but I'm just gonna keep it for now because I don't know if we've accounted for not having a category, but we'll find out. And then let's just uncomment this and change this to thread list. Change this to threads. And we'll do categories by primary key, and then this will be threads. I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm also going to remove this unused mutate function, and then we're going to head into a category, and fingers crossed, there we go. So we've got posts using the same component we used on the index displayed in each of our categories. So if I go back and we go to JavaScript, you'll see we've got 2 threads inside of JavaScript category. So awesome, this is good, we're getting there. What can we do now? What can we do now? Well, I said we probably don't need to query like, you know, Jamie posted in JavaScript. Well, I know I'm in the JavaScript category, so we probably don't need to show that again. So I'm going to try and be smart by not querying the data. And if that data isn't there, let's not show category. So we'll probably need to open the thread component, and we need to check whether or not category is there. If it is, I'm guessing we want to show it. So we could probably do category. If there is a category, we just will replace a fragment here, and that fragment will be this. And if we go back, it shouldn't want to render a link anymore. So there we go. Jamie Barton posted yesterday at 7:04, and then Jamie Barton replied. And we've got that context. It knows there's more than one post, so it knows if there's more than one post, there's replies. If there isn't more than one post, we know it's the original thread owner. So it's going to be their post. So we're looking good on that front. And if we click, we've got a little bit of an issue there with spacing. And that is just because there's no space in here. I'm just going to add this in the span again. I know we can make this look a bit nicer. We'll just do MX1, yes, margins. We'll pop that there. And then now if we refresh, we've got a little bit of space going on between there. We'll tidy that up. We'll make this all look a little nicer a little bit later. Let's set this to text gray 500 as well. Probably is a little bit too light. We'll try 600. There, that looks a little neater. And then we'll go in here, and everything works. Everything works as we expected. And just to keep things consistent for when we come to style this later, I'm going to open up the post component, and for the time ago, I will just style that the same as well. So when we go to this thread here and refresh, this timestamp will be faded as well. Right, so we've covered some good ground. We've created the category pages. If we click on general, it's probably not obvious, and we probably don't have any pin threads, but let's test that out. Let's make this thread, because it has the least activity, we'll make this thread pinned, and hopefully that should go to the top. So let's just get this ID, we'll edit that, and we'll say this is pinned, and we will save that. Now, for the moment of truth, let's go back, and Hello World should be at the top, posted last Saturday. So that's great. We have a post which was created on Saturday, but it's above the post that was created today, and then we've got everything else following in that post activity, descending order of created at. But to a user, this may look a bit confusing. They could be thinking, well, why is this post that it was posted on Saturday at the top of this list? They don't know that this is pinned, so why don't we just add some text in here to make it clear that this is in fact a pinned thread? So posts, let's just query for pinned as well inside of there. So let's open up the thread component and we'll destructure pinned as well. And then if it is pinned, where shall we put this? For now, we could just kind of we could just add some text at the beginning, maybe, or a little pin icon. I don't want to get too involved with styling right now. But yeah, let's throw in a SVG maybe if it's pinned before the title, so it's really obvious that it's pinned. So we've got the title here. So let's put it inside this H3. Is that legal? Can we put an SVG in an H3? I'm not sure. We'll say this is inline flex, item center, and then if it's pinned, we'll go ahead and we'll display span here of margin right. We'll just say 1 for now. And we'll go ahead and at remixicon.com. I like these icons. They're really nice. Shout out to Ollie Barker for recommending this icon set. He's used this on a few projects we've collabed on, and I really like them. So do we have a pin? Do we have a pin? Yep, we've got a pin. Now this is the design decision. Is it the outline or the filled? Let's go with the filled. So we'll copy SVG and we'll insert this here. I'm going to get rid of the width and height, and we'll fall back to Tailwind. We'll just say this is width 4, height 4, and we'll say fill current. Refresh. There we go. So we've got the title before the name. Now the rest looks like I've broke it, so let's fix that as well. H3, obviously it's now flex in line. It probably doesn't need to be in line, and that should fix that issue. Yeah, we'll leave it like that for just now. Maybe we'll add below this a simple, add some small spacing below the am I looking in the right space here? We'll just add margin top, or should we do space Y1? Is that a thing? Yeah, looks like it's a thing. Give it a bit more breathing room. PY3. Okay, so we'll do PY1, and this is inline flex as well. So it's looking a little tidier. It's looking a little bit tidier. We probably need to fix some of the spacing, I'd say. Maybe as we don't need such a drastic, make this PX6, then we'll do PY3 perhaps. Let's remove that. Okay. This is flex. Maybe we do need a little bit of space. Trying to decide. Doesn't really matter for now, I guess. On how it looks. If we remove this, let's just see how bad things go. Yeah. Let's not do that. But if we go back to thread list, do you think we need the divider? I think we don't. It's kind of clear, right? Once we add the message in, it should add a bit more room. What do you think? Let's just remove it for now, and we'll just say this is py4. So yeah, it looks, to me, once we add the message in below here, I think things will look a bit nicer. But what we can see is we've got this pin thread at the beginning, and then we've got the rest of the posts below. And yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's looking good. We've got our pin thread, and we can reply to this. Oops, and the form resets. Let's just check this incognito, make sure everything is working. It is. We're not logged in, but we're still showing a reply box. That's not what we want. So we'll go to the thread ID. Are we bringing down user context at all? No, we are not. So let's open up layout, just because it's easier to copy and paste. Add a bit of space before those. I'll import this here. Remove. We'll import use alt state. Then we'll get is authenticated from the auth context. Then we'll paste this in here. We'll remove user, and then we'll say if it is authenticated, and it's not locked, display that. We'll need to fix the path for that import, and then there we go. So we can't do anything. We can't reply if the thread, if the user is not logged in. Let's refresh this just to check that that is all working, and it is. We can reply to this, and all of that works just fine. So we're almost on time. We've been going 27 minutes. So later on today, I will continue with this, and we'll move on to the next stage, which I'm not entirely sure what that is, but we'll have a look on GitHub in a moment and see what is what. So yeah, these are our threads. Then we can click on a category, and we can go to that category as well. Now, at some point, we'll probably introduce a drop down in the header to switch between these categories really fast. And we can kind of just browse content that way instead of going back to the home page and what have you. That'll probably be a little nicer. So let's open up GitHub, and we'll go to Jamstack Forum. Let's have a look at issues. We've got 5 at the moment. Create individual category pages. We have that. And this will be issue 10. So each category should have its own page of threads started and links to them. And we've got that. We've done it. It's taken 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and just commit everything. Category. I know we did a few bug fixes, but yeah, we're live streaming. Category page. And it was issue 10. So we'll go ahead and create a pull request. And we'll say this closes number 10, and we'll submit that to GitHub. Then if we have a look at that PR, it should build with Vercel in no time at all. And then we can check this out on the preview URL, and then it'll be live at jamstackforum.com, where you can sign up and post in there as well. Probably will purge the messages as well as I add more junk and testing and what have you. So we'll wait for that. Let's inspect the process. It's done. When I opened the page, it was done. So let's go and inspect that and click category. And there we go. We get the pinned thread at the top. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Hopefully, I've certainly learned a lot in that video. I learned how fast we can actually create a category page, and also filtering and showing the pinned threads at the top. I didn't think it would be that straightforward, but hey, I was surprised. It just worked, so that is good. Let's go back and let's press that big green button. Awesome. So we've merged that in. It's automatically closed that issue. And then the next task is to create today's posts. So we'll probably do that shortly. Probably do that later on today. In about 5 hours or so, 5 or 6 hours, I'll stream that. And for anyone listening, there's a GraphQL meetup tonight. I'll put the link on Twitter, but I'll be talking at the GraphQL meetup as well, with a bunch of other amazing attendees and speakers. So look out for that. I'll post the link on Twitter. But yeah, we'll work on issue 11 later on today. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And happy coding.